Hey guys, Bandit here, and welcome back to an almost weekly devlog. Last week I did miss a devlog because the quirk that I chose to work on was very complicated, and that actually combined with a whole bunch of other issues, which I'm not going to go into, it caused a bit of a delay. However, this week I'm finally ready to show you what I have for the quirk that I've been working on, but before I get into that, I would like to say I did miss last week's upload, but I did do a live stream last week, and if you want to get notified on the live streams, just join the Discord down below and you'll get notified whenever I go live. Also, there's a bunch of other cool stuff happening in the Discord like suggestions and teasers and all that sort of stuff. Also, I have posted some applications to join my development team. Yay! Information for that is inside of the Discord, so you're going to have to join that to see it and find the application. Right now, I'm doing applications for texturers, but in the future, I will be opening up applications for developers, animators, modelers, whatever. Okay, that's all out of the way, so let's talk about the quirk that I implemented. For this week, I implemented the creation quirk. Basically, this is Momo's quirk from the anime, and it allows you to turn the lipids in your body into different items, and there's really no limit to the creation. So there's a lot of problems with this quirk, but the main thing is how do I make it so that someone that has this isn't just in creative mode all the time? Or specifically, how do I stop them from just having everything at the start? And I came up with a system that I think works, but I would like to see some of your feedback down in the comments, so let me know. All right, so I have the quirk actually enabled, so if I hit the first ability key, this will open up the creation menu, and this is actually a custom GUI that I created. It uses FancyMenu as a dependency, so this is what's allowing me to kind of create this and give this nice little look. This actual design here is going to change in the future once I find someone who can actually, you know, design things correctly. But right off the bat, we have two tabs here. We have the materials tab and we have the tooling tab. And the tooling tab we can't actually do anything with right now, and neither can we do with the materials. But we can see up here we have a lipid count, and this is the amount of fat that's stored in your body. We have a couple slots and then just a little preview of the player. So how do we get lipids? Well, you have to actually eat some food. And there's many different types of food that you can eat, specifically any food that has a high enough saturation value. The calculation for how many lipids you get for each piece of food you consume is the food's saturation multiplied by 25 and then further multiplied by a multiplier. Because it's based on this generic system, this means any modded food will actually work as long as it has a saturation value. So for example, if I were to eat this one piece of steak and consume it there, if I go ahead and look in my menu, we now have 20 lipids to use. If I use something smaller like an apple, that actually didn't give me any lipids, and that's because the saturation of the apple is not high enough to do that. I think raw potatoes are not actually high enough either, so if we eat one of these, yeah, that doesn't go up. But if we went and ate any of the meats, for example, rabbit or fish or cod or salmon, any of these cooked meats will give us enough lipids to use. Also, golden carrots, these give you a lot, obviously, because they're full of gold and high on saturation. The idea behind this is I wanted you to have to prepare the food in order to actually get nutritional value from it. So things like apples, potatoes, carrots, and beets just by themselves, I didn't want to give too much lipids because then you could just spam a potato farm and get infinite materials. So this way you actually have to do a little bit of work. I might change it in the future so there is a base level of lipids for small items like these potatoes, 1 or 2 lipids that you get for each of them so that it's not nothing. But that's something I can easily change because I actually have this set to a config, meaning that you can actually edit all of the different values for the calculation. So that's going to be something that's pretty good because a lot of Palladium mods don't have very many config options, so I'm going to make sure to have plenty of those so you can customize it to do whatever you want. So we have these lipids, but now how do we use them? So this menu is actually how we're going to use them, but we can see we don't have any actual items here. The creation quirk in the anime isn't able to just make things out of nowhere. The user actually has to know how that thing is created. And so to kind of simulate that, I went ahead and created this research table. The texture for this is done by Cryptic. He's in my Discord and just offered this up. But if we right click this, it opens up another kind of ugly GUI. However, this does get the stuff done. We have 2 tabs here. We have materials and we have blocks. And these are all different things that you can actually learn to create. So for example, materials. If you wanted to learn how to create a piece of coal, you simply click on it and it says down here that we can learn it for 64 coal. If I click this without having enough coal in my inventory, you can see it just tells us. So if I go ahead and grab grabbed coal out and had a stack in my inventory and then hit the learn button. There we go, successfully learned coal. I'll be editing those messages in the future, but now if we open up the shop, we can actually see we have coal as one of the things we can get. So if I zoom out here a little bit and then hit this ability, we can see it just simply pops out a piece of coal from our body. Now you couldn't really see it pop out, so I'm actually going to use a second feature that I added to this, and that is these quick slots. So these quick slots allow you to assign any of the items that you have in here into one of your ability keys down below. So we see we have 2, 3, and 4, which I need to get better icons for them so you can actually tell what is what. But pretty much those are quick slots. Right now, if you push them without having anything in, it just says unknown item. But if we come in here, we select the slot and then select the item that we want to actually assign to it. There we go. We have assigned the coal to slot 1. And now we can zoom out and hit the ability key like this, and we can see it pops out a piece of coal and spits it in a random direction with a little particle effect. Another thing we can see is that the lipids actually goes down whenever we do something. So for example, the coal, if we use 1 piece of coal like this, we went down 10 lipids. That's because the cost of 1 coal is 10 lipids. In the future, I will have hover over events like a tooltip here to show you how much the cost for each thing is. And these costs are in fact actually configurable, so you will be able to change them in a simple config file. But right now I just kind of gave a bunch of random cost to everything because I really spent a lot of time just putting these menus together. And so balancing is going to come just a little bit later, but we can do this with all of the different things. Now, I know there's no indicator here that you've learned coal. So if you click this again, you see it says down here, you've already know this recipe. I'm going to add some sort of indicator, like a little checkbox or whatever, to show you that you've done that. But for now, we'll just have to live with the fact that it doesn't tell us. But we can go ahead and grab the copper, the iron. Again, we just click on it and then click learn, and it accepts all of the items. And then we're able to actually generate them either by clicking or assigning to them to a slot. We can see here the iron is more expensive than the coal, so it's using 20 lipids instead of the 10. So we're gonna have to eat 1 piece of steak to convert it into a piece of copper. Or I said iron, but I meant copper. Whatever. I'm a little sleep deprived. Okay, so the materials are cool, and you can get a few blocks here, which are also the same thing. These are, by the way, are a little more expensive because blocks are technically a little easier to get, so I don't know why I made it 128. I think I was trying to balance it so that you didn't have infinite stuff so fast, but I'll fix it in the future. As I was saying though, the materials and the blocks, those are cool, but we kind of want more to do. So we're gonna actually open this up and take a look at the upgrade tree. The upgrade tree is a little complicated, and it's a little confusing that it starts here in the middle instead of over here in the actual middle. Over on this left branch here, we have efficient creation upgrades, and this ranges from 1 to 4. What these do is apply the multiplier to the saturation, giving you a boost in the food that you eat. For this upgrade here, if we get this, we have a 1.4% increase in the lipids that we get. So if we eat this piece of steak, before we had 10 lipids and now we have 38. If I eat this again, there we go, it goes up to 66. So before the steak was giving us 20, and now it's giving us 24, I believe, or 28. I don't know, I can't do math apparently. But this goes up to a 1.8 times, a 2.2 times, and a 2.6 times. That gives you a lot more lipids for less food, allowing you to create more complicated things. What are those complicated things though? Well, if we go into the upgrade tree, over here we have basic knowledge, and this is what unlocks the basic materials and the basic blocks, but we can also increase it to advanced knowledge and expert knowledge. And these increase the different things that we can learn. Each one added a row of materials, so redstone, gold, and nether quartz, and then the expert knowledge got the diamond and apparently test instead of emerald. But then we also have unlocked a few other blocks here and different options to go for those. And again, all of them can be learned just by sacrificing that, and then it adds it to your actual reservoir. So let's grab some soul sand actually just to see that. So there we go, we got a couple of random ones. We can get this, cobblestone, regular stone, soul sand. We check out our thing here, we can see the different slots are filling up. Now it does look a little weird because I have no indication of where the slots are. If I click this, you can see there's a slot everywhere there's a T. When I get a actual texturer to make me a texture for this, it'll look like it kind of like an inventory slot. The reason for that is I can't programmatically add different elements here. I kind of have to have them all just listed out. So if you go in order from dirt to obsidian, that's the same order that it's going to follow here. In fact, let me just grab a little dirt to show you there. If I just spend this here to learn the dirt, there we go, dirt's there. grass should be next to it. So if I grab 2 things of that, it's just going to fill it up as you learn the different items. All right, so blocks and materials are cool, but you probably want to do something a little more complicated. So the next upgrade is tool knowledge, and this unlocks stone tools. So if we come over here, we now have the tools tab, and this unlocks stone tools, but also a shield. So kind of basic level tools. In order to learn each of these, you're going to need 5 of the tool. So for example, if I get 5 stone axes and apply them here in the research table. There we go. We've learned stone axe. So now that we learned it, we can open up this and we may notice that there is no stone axe in here. Well, that's actually going to be in the tools tab. These buttons here, when you click on them, switch between the tools that you have learned. So for example, we have the axe here and we can say, I want to create an axe. So if I click on create, it's going to create us a stone axe just like that. There's also this bar up here. This is for a custom name. So if you want to give the axe something like the best axe for some reason, if you click create here, you'll now create that with the actual name. So that's pretty cool. You can get a little free customization for some of your things. I will say right now, you can technically switch between these different tabs. So for example, the pickaxe, but we don't have the pickaxe actually learned because we haven't bought it yet. If you tried to use this, it will say you don't know this recipe, so I can't really hide these necessarily. It's going to be there and it's going to show up, but just know that you do still have to learn it even though it shows up here. Let's actually get the upgrades to increase our tool tier so we can get up to diamond. I skipped gold because honestly no one ever uses gold. The 2 tiers give us the iron and diamond, and it also gives us some bow arrows and some firework rockets. That way it's not just the basic tools, you also get a few extra things, and it looks like I need to fix the namings on those, but you learn them all the exact same way. But let's get all of the axes here. All right, so I've got 5 axes of diamond, I've got 5 axes of iron. Now, if I open up the enchant and go to axes, now I can actually change the type of axe that I'm making. So this one is going to be an iron axe, this one is going to create a stone axe. Also right now, it doesn't actually use lipids to create either of the tools or any of the tools really that are inside of the tool section. That's going to be changed pretty soon. I just have to actually, add it in. And, I've been doing a lot of stuff, so I'll get to it eventually. So those are tools. We can do the same thing with armor. So armor has 3 tiers of knowledge, and I actually ran out of upgrade points. This unlocks the armor tab. The first tier is for leather armor. The second tier is for chain and iron. Since they're both made out of iron, I thought it kind of made sense to stick them together. And then diamond is the last one. There's dirt here, but this is specifically just for like a placeholder position. It won't be there in the final one, but you can learn these like you can learn any other one. You do need 5 of each. Again, this is all going to be configurable, and I'll probably set it to a actual better value. But if we, for example, get 5 diamond chest plates, we go ahead and learn that. If we open up this, head to chest plate, and we can see it says leather here, but that's just because it expects you to kind of go in forward. And if you click this, it'll say no, but you have to click on the diamond there. And then there we go. We can just create diamond chest plate and put it on. So this is what it looks like when it is actually fully unlocked. So you can see we have the different items. It does look a little weird when we only have 1 or 2 of the items unlocked. And that's again because I need a texturer to kind of make a new design for this so it's clearer. But design stuff aside, I think this is really cool because I've never seen anyone use FancyMenu with this complicated of setup, and it actually gets even more complicated because I added in the ability to enchant the items that you create. So if we come in here to this, there's actually enchantment knowledge, and there's 6 levels of it. The first one here will unlock the enchants, and we can see 6 different enchants that we can actually learn. And so each of these, in order to learn them, you have to have a book that has that enchantment on it. So for unbreaking, we just need an unbreaking book. So if we have that in our inventory, we can then unlock it just like that. This also works if it's a compound book as well. So for example, if I have this book with Lure 2 and Luck of the Sea, and I wanted to learn this lure enchant, again, I named it wrong, it will accept that one book and it will destroy it, and it will only learn that enchant. So just because it has 2 enchants on it doesn't mean you're going to learn them both. But once you have those unlocked, you can actually activate them kind of right in here. So over in the enchanting tab, if we go to, for example, armor, we unlocked unbreaking. And so now we have this slider here that's actually dependent on the enchantment. And so you can see it goes up to its max level of 3 because that's what unbreaking is. And now if we create this, we've created a leather tunic with unbreaking 3 on it. There we go. I just learned projectile protection, so I can increase that. This one, the longer named ones, you have to wait a little bit to see its actual value. But we can do unbreaking 2, and that looks like projectile protection 2 or 3. So if we do that, there we go. And we got both of the enchants. Now, the way that the cost is going to work in terms of lipids is that the more enchants and the higher level enchants, the more lipids it's going to take. So a full Prot 5 set of armor is going to be way more expensive than a single Prot 1 set of armor, if that makes sense. I haven't actually coded the pricing variable though, so right now you just get them all for free. Each enchantment knowledge unlocks a row of different enchants that you can learn, and the reason for this is to try to hide higher tier enchants higher up the list. So for example, this is the bottommost or the most expensive one to get to. That has Mending, Infinity, Looting, Soul Speed, Channeling, and Impaling. So some higher end enchantments with some lower end ones, but that's okay. Pretty much we have 36 different enchantments that you can learn. You can go through and acquire them. So like Aqua Affinity, we can grab that one. So there I've learned a bunch of enchantments for the armor set. So we can do Unbreaking, Thorns, Fire Protection, Blast Protection, Regular Protection, Mending, which is a good one, Projectile Protection, and then we can create that, and we've created a 6 enchantment tunic. If you're good at Minecraft, you may notice that there are 3 different types of protection on this set, and normally you can only have 1. So we have Protection 4 overlapping with Projectile and Fire Protection. That I'm keeping as sort of a feature because I want the creation to go beyond the scope of vanilla Minecraft enchants. In the future, I will have it so it can go beyond the max level of the enchants, and it's definitely not because it would require a lot of extra work to make sure that the enchantments are all compatible with each other. That couldn't be it. Let me know down in the comments if you like it to be able to make these really good and awesome armor sets. Again, though, remember that the armor is actually going to cost a lot more with the more enchantments on it. Right now I can spam it just because I don't actually have any lipid requirement here, but in the future you will have to actually spend a lot of lipids and a lot of stamina. I haven't set this part up yet, but every time you're going to create an item, it is going to take a chunk of stamina dependent on the cost. And so you do need to be aware, and you're not going to be able to just spam everything out because you will need both lipids and stamina in order to do that. Armor is not the only thing that can be enchanted. We can also enchant weapons and our tools as well based on the enchants that we have unlocked. Now, if we open this guy up, there, the tool can now do Unbreaking, Efficiency, Mending, Sharpness, and Fortune. So if we do a Diamond Axe, we can max it out with all of these, and we don't want Fortune on our axe, so we'll say Even Better Axe for the name. And then we click Create. There we go, Even Better Axe, and it's got all of our enchants on it. And with that, that's all of the creation right now. This is a little sparse here, but I can actually show you what a full unlocked thing looks like. So ignore this ticker thing. This is just inside of FancyMenu, but here are all of the items that you can unlock right now. And I will be opening it up to more items in the future, specifically wood types. You're gonna need a lot of those, so those will fill it up. Different types of blocks like stairs, slabs, all that stuff. That can all kind of go in here and just easily be added to the same system. Same thing with materials. I can add as many materials as we want to this list and give creation even more stuff to do, I guess. And that's about it. That's everything for creation. Now that I record it, it doesn't seem like a lot of stuff, but it took me quite a long time to get the GUI stuff actually working. It turns out that sending information back and forth from different screens is actually pretty difficult. And pairing that with actual Palladium interactions as well, it is kind of a challenge. And it's a big reason as to why this took so long. However, I would like to say that I have been developing a library mod alongside my add-on, and that library mod has a lot of different features that I'm actually using in order to get the FancyMenu stuff to display and use it as an actual ability. So that means you'll be able to use that same library mod and do very similar things inside of your add-on, which is pretty cool. But yeah, like I said, it's still work in progress, but I need to focus on something that's not creation, because if I don't, my mental stability meter will go even further into the negatives. So my next steps are most likely to polish some of the quirks that I have. Specifically, I want to finish up a power stock and go through and fix decay. And I also want to move all of the common stuff from my add-on directly into the actual library mod. Things like the stamina system, which are baked into my add-on, I'm going to be moving those over to a library so that other people can obviously easily use my same system and have the same effect. If you guys enjoyed this one, let me know down in the comments. And if you have different ideas for creation, also let me know. If it requires changing the GUI more than just adding actual textures and things like that, I don't know if I'm going to do that, but if you have design ideas or things like that, you can let me know. And thinking about the gameplay, do you have any ideas on how this is going to work? I think it's hard to tell until you actually play it. So I'm going to be trying to do some testing here in the future, which is something you may be a part of if you're in the Discord. Who knows? I'll see you guys in the next devlog. This one hopefully is going to be just a week and not 2.5. We'll see. See ya.